Damn it, the autofocus is broke. Ooh, manual mode and shutter speed control. Hi folks, I'm from HiOnAndroid.com, where we get on Android every day. Anyway, today I wanted to talk to you guys about the camera on the HTC One M9 and also the camera on the Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge. Now, the real difference between these phones is that the M9 has an f2.2 while the Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge have f1.9. Now, off the bat, that will tell you the Galaxy S6 and S6 Edge will do better in low light. So what is an f-stop? Basically, how large the hole is on your camera to the sensor. As the f number goes down, such as f1.9 on this S6 Edge, your hole gets bigger. When your hole gets bigger, that means you can allow more light into the camera sensor. This results in more light for your camera, resulting in better pictures in low light since you have more light. Now, f2.2 on the HTC One M9 isn't bad either. But if you take both of these cameras to the limit, the S6 and S6 Edge does tad better. But if you know how to use these cameras, you'll be able to take good photos whether you use this one or this one. Now, the HTC One M9 does have its flaws. One of the biggest flaw is the autofocus. If you try to focus with the HTC One M9, 5 out of 10 times the exposure will be off, the shutter speed is off, and makes the photo completely bonkers, unusable. Now, I did find a way to fix it. The easiest way to fix it is basically use HDR mode for all of your photos. Then your photos come out pretty decent. Now, the good thing I realized with the S6 and S6 Edge, the autofocus is nearly flawless. The exposure is correct, the shutter speed is correct. Everything is done automatic. So if you don't know anything about cameras or shutter speed, you've never used a DSLR camera, then you'll probably want to go with the S6 or S6 Edge. Now, what is shutter speed? Shutter speed is basically the speed of your shutter on your camera opening and closing. So let me give you an example here. Now, the good thing with DSLR cameras is that you can control the shutter speed, aperture, exposure. There's even buttons for shutter speed priority, aperture priority. I mean, these are the things necessary to maximize your photos. Now, for those of you who have bought the HTC One M9, the autofocus straight up sucks on the M9. It is the worst I have seen out of all Android phones. It is definitely a bug. Basically, the autofocus adjusts the exposure wrong and the shutter speed. Now, HTC can fix this with a software update, but in the meanwhile, one of the coolest features on the M9 that you can control the ISO and the shutter speed. Now, this is very important because a lot of smartphone cameras can't do that, including the S6 or S6 Edge. This one, you can only control the ISO or the exposure. This one, you can control the exposure, ISO, and the shutter speed. Now, what that means is that by using the manual control on the HTC One M9, you can take very good photos just like a DSLR camera. Now, by using the manual mode, you'll be able to take just as great shots as the S6 or S6 Edge. For those of you who don't know how to use DSLR, this could be a huge problem. But let me give you a brief tutorial on how to do this with your M9. Let's go do this, baby. Alright guys, the biggest problem with the HTC One M9 camera is that when you focus on something, especially if there's light in the background or in the side, it will get overexposed. And let me go ahead and take a photo here. You'll see that you can't see any of the things behind it. And you see that that's the photo I just took. You can see the subject great, but the background you can't see very well. Now, that makes the photo unusable in some cases. Let me go ahead and take the same shot with my Galaxy S6 Edge. Alright, even though you can't see the subject here, but you can see that it's not overexposed. That's how it should be for this shot. Now, the good thing with the S6 Edge or the S6 is that it has this HDR auto. Now, if I had the HDR auto on, which I usually leave it on, it's gonna actually turn it automatically into HDR, and you'll get a nice photo like this instead of the dark Hulk. Alright, same thing with this camera. When you need to take photos, don't use the autofocus. Go ahead and use the HDR. And this will fix most of your exposure problems. Now, there are certain cases where HDR will not work, such as, let's say you want to have focus on here, but you don't want the background exposed, which the autofocus does. Then you can go ahead and go into this manual mode, which is awesome. I love it. You can go ahead and set the ISO and the shutter speed. I would usually leave the white balance, also the focus in auto, but mess with these two values. Start with the lowest ISO you can. That will result in less noise. and then go ahead and choose the shutter speed. That's gonna allow you to capture exactly what you want. So in this photo, I want to get a little bit of the Hulk, but I don't want it too exposed in the background because I want to also see the background. So I found a shutter speed that I think I like, and then go ahead and focus and take a photo here. And you can now see that I took the photo that I wanted, and autofocus will not get you the shot on the M9, which is a problem. Now the photo is nearly identical to the one I took with my S6 Edge. All right, not too much different. Let's actually go ahead and zoom in on here, and you'll see the details are about the same. The S6 Edge having slight more edge due to its f1.9, but there's nothing we can do about that. That's just the hardware limits of these two cameras. All right, here's another example. Depending on where I focus, see how the exposure is way off? If I focus over here and take a shot, let's say I want to focus here and take a shot. I can't do that with the HTC One M9. I'll have to focus on something else. So this is clearly an exposure problem where the software on the M9 does not set the exposure correctly or the shutter speed. In comparison, let me go ahead and show you with my Galaxy S6. You see the shutter speed and exposure does not change. It shouldn't, because this is the same photo. And you can clearly see I can focus on whatever I want and take a photo. All right, let's try the manual mode and fix our issue here. So go ahead and set it to manual. And what you want to do is start at the lowest ISO and then go ahead and adjust the shutter speed until you get the amount of light that you want in your shot. So for this shot, I want just a slight bit of light about there. And I'm going to go ahead and take a shot. Now, if it gets too dark, then you can go ahead and start increasing the ISO values. Now, once you start increasing the ISO values, you'll get more noise in your photo. But in most good lighting conditions, you should be able to use ISO 100 just fine. Now, if I focus on different points, I can take a photo just like the Galaxy S6. And these photos look beautiful, just like the one taken with the Galaxy S6, because I control the ISO manually, and no more weird photos like this. So in that regards, I mean, this has slightly more control in that you can actually control the shutter speed, which I really actually love, because that's how I use all my DSLR cameras or my Panasonic GH4 here. And this could be a great feature if you plan on using your M9 to the fullest. Definitely just mess with the ISO and the shutter speed, and you'll get the shot exactly the way you want it. It's probably going to end up better than any autofocus that HTC decides to put on there or fix it. Now, this can get cumbersome because you'll have to adjust it every time, but if you do this, you'll be able to still take great photos and take full advantage of that 20 megapixel camera. Coming back to these phones, which phone has better camera? Overall camera performance? Definitely it's still the S6 and S6 Edge. I've taken the same shots, used a manual mode on the M9. Shots I've taken in auto mode with S6 and S6 Edge. The S6 and S6 Edge still have slightly better detail, even with autofocus. Now, the number of megapixels is higher on the HTC One M9, but remember, this has a lower f-stop of f1.9. That means you'll get clear photos because there's more light coming into the camera. And don't forget that there is OIS, which also helps you stabilize the shot. But the differences are very, very minor. You can take excellent shots with the HTC One M9 so long as you use the manual mode, just as good as the S6 or S6 Edge. Now, there is a huge problem with the camcorder or the video recording on the M9. This is because with the video recording on the M9, it's in autofocus, auto exposure, all of that. So it uses the flawed autofocus on the M9 camera to record your videos. And what happens is if there's any light changes during your recording, the exposure sort of flickers every other second. It is really annoying. It is definitely fixable with the software, as it's clearly dependent on the autofocus algorithm in the software. And it has nothing to do with the sensor. The sensor is great. It can take great photos. I've used a manual mode, and in certain situations, you may be able to actually take better photos than the S6 and S6 Edge, where you'll be able to control the ISO, the shutter speed, and make the image pop out. Now, a lot of you probably won't even want to mess with the manual settings, but even the camera I'm recording this, I actually set my own ISO, my aperture, my shutter speed for every scene, and my current camera doesn't even have autofocus. I have to manually focus everything. So in that regards, if you know what aperture shutter speed is because you've used a DSLR camera before, this is going to be a piece of cake. Now, it's going to be a problem for those action shots where you need to grab your camera out, but shots that you have the time to mess with the settings, the M9 could be a good choice. So I don't want to make this video too long. To cap it up, you can still take great photos with the M9, provided you use the HDR mode and or use the manual mode to adjust your exposure and shutter speed manually. So there you have it. The camera isn't actually too bad. It's just a software bug by HTC for autofocus. Once they fix that, it should be pretty good. Do remember, even if they do fix the software bugs, this phone does not have OIS and this phone does. You'll still get very stuttery videos with the M9. There's no way around it. Just use a tripod. But once they fix the autofocus, you won't have those flickering problems. The only problem you'll have, obviously, is just stabilizing it, so use a tripod. But when I first unboxed this, I was very depressed because I've been playing with this one for like a whole week, and videos, boy, they are so good. 4K videos on a longboard. You've seen my videos from Golden Gate. That was recorded on a longboard, holding this phone with one hand. The image stabilization is amazing on the S6 and the S6 Edge. It's better than anything out there, including iPhone 6 and 6 Plus. I've actually ordered an iPhone 6 that's coming, so I can give you a hands-on performance comparison between this and the iPhone 6. Except for the autofocus bug, which HTC should fix, this camera isn't that bad at all. It's just that if you compare it to the S6, it sucks. But it is still way better than the M7 or M8. Just fix the autofocus bug and we'll be on to go. Anyway, I just wanted to give you guys what you can do with the HTC One M9. If this is the phone I bought and I got stuck with it, I can go ahead and use the manual mode until HTC fixes it to take great photos, or just use the HDR mode. And also this will help you learn about photography, which is also a great thing. Anyway, thanks guys for watching this video. That was my thoughts on the S6 and S6 Edge and the M9 camera abilities, and how to really fix the M9 camera abilities by using the manual mode. As always, don't forget to follow me on Twitter, Facebook, or Google+. Don't forget to hit that like, subscribe for me, and as always, I'll stay on Android.